In it here now, what are you gonna do now? I'm gonna bid on here now. Who bid $500,000 bid?
Welcome to the Legacy of Agriculture. This program will explore the past, present, and future of agriculture. We'll look at the people, products, and events that have formed its history. And now, with today's guest, your host, Chris Bair.
Hello, everybody. This is Chris Bair, your host of the Legacy of Agriculture. We appreciate you for joining us this morning. Want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Pifer Auction and Realty, and also a brand new sponsor that we've got is Richard Repair out of Larchwood, Iowa, that does all kinds of repairs on trucks and all kinds of construction equipment. We appreciate the good people at Pifer's and also Richard's Repair for a great partnership with the Legacy of Agriculture. If you're just joining in or becoming familiar with the Legacy of Agriculture, you can also go back and listen to our 70 plus podcast that is on Apple, Spotify, and now we're also on YouTube. If you've got any comments, anything you want to add to the Legacy of Agriculture, comments, anything that would be helpful for us to grow and to do better, you can email us at legacyofagriculture@gmail.com. Again, that's legacyofagriculture@gmail.com. Today, my guest is Mr. Jack Pifer. Jack has been in the auction industry. We grew up in the auction industry and is our new CEO of Pifer Auction Realty and Land Management. Congratulations, Jack. This is a big responsibility starting January 1st.
Yes, it is, and it is co-CEO. So the old man's still around, still helping out, and I'm still learning the ropes a little bit. But yeah, very very excited for the opportunity, and love getting to work with our great Pifers team every day.
So, just to tell our listeners a little bit about Jack, Jack was raised in the auction industry. And as a matter of fact, last week we had all of our corporate training up in the Fargo Moorhead area. And some of the guys that have worked here for 25 years now remember Jack running around on his dad's hip at one time. How did
Yeah,
that
that's
make you
right.
feel,
Yeah.
Jack?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it makes them feel old, and it makes me feel even younger. So, but yeah, it's that's kind of the interesting part about the new role is a lot of our guys have been around since the beginning, and I've grown up with them. I've known them for pretty much my entire life, and so kind of interesting now being in a leadership role and leading the team with those guys on it. But just have a lot of respect for everybody on our team. So.
Do you feel overwhelmed? Does it feel pretty daunting?
A little bit. Some days, there are some responsibilities that are going to take some getting used to for sure. But when I first came on full time 4 years ago, well, even before that, when I was in college, I did a summer working for Dwight in land management, and worked as a land manager for a year, and then when I was up at school at UND, kind of worked as kind of an assistant for my uncle Bob and helped him with some of his real estate stuff and kind of a office administrator role and that kind of thing. And then after that, I got my drone license and started doing droning a lot of our properties and listings and that kind of thing. And so I've also helped out as kind of a support role for the equipment team. So I've kind of um, played a role in most of the major faucets of our company, which has been a really good experience for me. For first of all, to get to know everybody um, that I um, that I haven't known my whole life, like some of the older guys, and then also just kind of get a feel for how everything works here at Pifers. And so I think all that has been a really good experience and kind of positioned me to to be in a better spot in a leadership role. So,
What do you see, Jack, as your greatest challenge as a co-CEO of a major auction company? I mean, we hear a lot of reports out there that Pifers is one of the top 10 land auction companies in the nation. The dollar volume that we have as an auction company is very, very impressive. What do you see as your biggest challenge?
Yeah, the biggest challenge for me, this is an industry where, and you can attest to this, Chris, is that your experience is so important, and so I have to rely a lot on, people like my dad, Kevin Pifer, and Steve Link, our broker, and my uncle Bob, and our Bowman team, and all those guys. I rely on them a lot because of all the years of experience they have, and so that's probably the biggest challenge for me, being a younger guy in this industry is, being a good listener, asking the right questions, and not being afraid to ask questions. You can't. I find myself a lot of time in conversations, wanting to pretend I know exactly what everybody's talking about, but you can't be afraid to to speak up and say no. Take a step back here. What are you guys talking about? Explain this to me a little better, because I'm eager to learn, and so yeah, you just gotta take it one day at a time and really try to absorb everything for sure.
Growing up in the auction industry, what are your some of your most favorite memories on the good side?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I used to love uh, going to auctions. When we first started out, it was a lot of smaller estate sales and that kind of thing. And I just always loved being at the live auctions. It's just always such a fun experience. Um, and then we still do the Western North Dakota sales every year. And so when I was growing up, I used to always get to tag along for the Western North Dakota sales, because we would always take a half day here and there to go do some pheasant hunting out in Western North Dakota. And so I used to be kind of the bird dog. I used to go before I was able to carry a shotgun myself. And so that's really when I got to know everybody, like Dwight and Jim and Andy and the guys down in Bowman. So those are uh those are definitely some core memories that stick with me. And it's fun now to still go out to do there. Now when we go out to do the Western North Dakota sales, it seems like we have so many sales on the books that we don't get as much time to go hunting, but it's still always a good time.
That's one thing that I has impressed me the most about Pifers is that the Pifers organization it's almost it when everybody gets together, it's not really like a corporate meeting. It's almost like a family reunion in a way, because there's so many people that was here at the inception of Pifers, that everybody knew what it was like when your dad was driving around the countryside with uh, fam- uh, uh, and my favorite story is that he'd get up in the morning and fill his thermos up with chicken noodle soup, and that's what he ate all day. And he'd shower at the truck stops, because there was a time when there wasn't much money, and that's impressive to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he reflects back on those years all the time, and tries to kind of remind me of the humble beginnings that this company had. And so it's pretty amazing how far we've come, and all the staff we've added along the way, and the guys that we've been able to retain and still get to work with is really a testament um, to the environment we have here at Pifers. I like to think it's a great place to work. We don't have a super corporate feel. It's everybody seems to get along really well, and you really need that in this business. You need to be able to work together as a team. Between marketing, accounting, to the sales staff, to everyone in between. It takes a lot of team effort to put on a good auction, and you know that as well as anybody, Chris.
Absolutely, it really does. Well, folks, we're down to the end of our first segment of the Legacy of Agriculture. Send us an email at legacyofagriculture@gmail.com, and we're going to be right back with our second segment.
Hi, this is Jasmine at Pifer's Auction Realty and Land Management. Pifer's offers multiple ways to bid and buy at our equipment and land auctions. You can bid online, in person, or place pre-bids before the sale even starts. By providing convenient bidding platforms, we make sure that you can buy the items or parcels you want the way you want to. Visit pifers.com to see a complete list of our auctions. When it comes to bidding, go with Pifers. Nobody does it better.
Folks, this is Chris Bair, your host of the Legacy of Agriculture. We're coming into our second segment, and my guest, Jack Pifer, has taken time out of his busy schedule to join us on the Legacy of Agriculture. If you've got any comments or want to talk to any one of us, shoot us an email at legacyofagriculture@gmail.com. We appreciate a brand new sponsor, Richard's Repair out of Larchwood, Iowa, for all your mechanic needs on your trucks or wheel loaders or agricultural equipment. You'll want to give Richard's Repair a call over at Larchwood, Iowa. Jack, last week we had our corporate meetings where we went over um, so many things that corporations go over at least once a year. And one of the things that really stood out to me that was really impressive is that as a company from Montana to Wisconsin and from the Canadian line all the way down to Nebraska is as north of 350 auctions last year. Now, you might think that's not a lot, or maybe you think that's a lot, but that's almost an auction every day. So if you take Saturdays and Sundays out, which rarely we have a Saturday or Sunday auction, there was a lot of days where we had 3 or 4 auctions per day. How do you manage that? And what do you see for the future of Pifers in the auction world?
Yeah. Yeah, and we also try not to have many sales on Mondays and Fridays too, because we wanna make sure that, we're accounting for people's long weekends and stuff. So, yeah, we really try to fit all those sales in there, but it's pretty incredible, the number of sales we've been able to do, and like we talked about in the first segment, it's been a total team effort being able to put all those sales on, and probably the most amazing things is the amount of live auctions that are included in that 350. I'd say the vast majority of those were live auctions. You know, we're obviously capable of doing the online only sales as well, but here at Pifers we are huge proponents of the live auction. We still think it's just so crucial to be in front of the bidders, and whether it's a land or equipment sale. And so yeah, looking towards the future. Obviously, we want to try to keep replicating and keep adding to what we've been doing. We've got a great staff to keep doing that. But yeah, it's already looking at the sales that we have on the books for 2025. Once we get into mid February and March here, we're going to be right back into the swing of things, and already off to a great start.
I haven't checked the website in the last couple of days, but I think there were under contract for 70 auctions in the spring of 2025. How do you manage your way through that, Jack?
Yeah, a lot of coordination. We've only got a handful of auctioneers who do the land auction specifically, and so being able to coordinate the staff for each individual sale is a huge part of it. But it's a and that's a little bit of a challenge, and I think that's why it's become kind of the norm in the industry to go to the online only, because it's easy to just you know. Uh, set it on the website and set the time, and everybody can watch from home. But we are more than willing here at Pifers to to get some windshield time, and travel out to these communities, and be in front of people and do the sales. And so yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. We talked a lot about the at the corporate meeting about um how the communication is so key, and being able to coordinate and work together as a team. And that's the biggest thing right now, is just trying to align schedules and work together.
That's and Cindy takes care of the majority of our scheduling, and she does an absolutely phenomenal job. Very impressed with the work that Cindy does out of our corporate office, but it's a lot of work. I don't think people realize that when you put a live auction together, whether it's a machinery auction or whether it's a real estate auction, it takes a lot of coordination and being in the right place at the right time. And then you have weather throwing curveballs at you all the time, especially this time of year as we're planning out our spring run of auctions. Is if you have I think it was last winter we had. The first time in the company's 25-year history that we had to delay some auctions because the roads were just flat closed. Nobody could get to those auctions. And
Right.
so it takes a lot of work. Um, what do you see? You had mentioned a little bit about the live auctions, Jack. Why? And Jeff Polk and I did an almost an entire segment in January about the live auctions. Troy Johnsrud, who is now a sales representative for us in Western Minnesota, we had a lot of conversation about that. T- Give me your take on the live auctions versus the internet auctions, the pluses and the minuses.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, with the land auction specifically, my dad likes to say that a good auctioneer is worth a couple $100 an acre on the day of the sale. The auctioneer and the
Mhm.
ringman, can really add a lot of value. And so for us, we think being able to be in front of the bidders, first of all, being able to get any questions answered that, make sure there is no reason for hesitancy to bid at the sale, being able to get everybody all the information they need, um, is a huge part of it. And with the way we do our auctions, our land auctions with the live format, it's pretty informal. We try to make sure we uh, alleviate any stress in the room. Obviously, it's can't eliminate it altogether with when you're bidding on land and making such a huge purchase. But and then there's also a um, little bit of feeling of bravado in the room sometimes. A little bit of ego can play into it. People get a little competitive, and that's always good for the seller, of course. But at the same time, sometimes you want to talk pros and cons. That can also be a little bit of a negative. Some people can shy away from that a little bit. At the live auctions, some people can just be a little hesitant and decide not to bid for those same reasons. Um, but the online is a really good format too. It allows people to bid from anywhere in the world. You can bid on your phone or your computer. We obviously have it like most people do, where if you bid within as the time's running down, that it gets extended back up to 5 minutes. So um, people have all the time they need to make their decision and to bid, and we like to reach out to those bidders that are bidding and do like we would if it was in person and make sure everybody has all their questions answered. But being able to be in room for people, um you know it's also really good for us to get to know the people in the community where we're selling, right? To get to know the people that we're selling the land to, instead of just sending them a contract over email, to be able to sit down with them, and get to know them, hear people's story. That's the big reason why we like to do it, right? We're not just some website you go to. We're a people company, right?
You brought up a great point. That opportunity that we have as auctioneers and ringmans and professionals in the business to be able to look at our buyers and our sellers in the eye the day of the auction and to be able to have that collaboration with them is always a huge plus. And you just plain don't get that in an online only auction. I mean, it is true that the representative gets to have face to face interaction with the seller or with their client. But on sale day, not only do we get enjoy that interaction, but you get the interaction of anywhere from 75 to 300 people that are, which is an average size for a live auction, but you get to have that interaction with all of those potential buyers. And I can't tell you how many times I've been at an auction and been either a ringman or an auctioneer, and somebody comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, I got some machinery I want to sell," or "I'm interested in buying this. What have you got coming?" And we can let them know what we've got coming down the pike.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And at our company, we're a full service company with being able to handle land, equipment, and land management in the auction. So that being in front of the people is all the more important for that reason.
Yep, that's exactly right. Jack, we're coming down to the end of our second segment of the Legacy of Agriculture. Shoot us an email and give us your thoughts at thelegacyofagriculture@gmail.com. I appreciate Jack for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us. For a complete listing of all of our auctions coming up in the spring of 2025, go to pifers.com or give us a call 605-836-2277. Nobody does it better.
Hey, this is Jasmine at Pifer's Auction, Realty, and Land Management. Pifer's offers multiple ways to bid and buy at our equipment and land auctions. You can bid online, in person, or place pre-bids before the sale even starts. By providing convenient bidding platforms, we make sure that you can buy the items or parcels you want the way you want to. Visit Pifers.com to see a complete list of our auctions. When it comes to bidding, go with Pifers. Nobody does it better.
Hey folks, we're back. I'm your host, The Legacy of Agriculture. Appreciate Jack Pifer for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us on The Legacy of Agriculture. And we got a surprise visitor that walked in on us, Mr. Kevin Pifer, the one and only. How you doing, Kevin?
Good, Chris. I'm glad it worked out. I just happened to walk in to deliver lunch, and here we are. We're on your podcast and radio show.
Well, thank you very much. I know you're very busy. Jack and I in the first two segments. In the first segment, we were visiting about such a fine young man that your son Jack is, and how excited we are as an organization that Jack is a co-CEO of Pifer Auction Realty and Land Management. And in the second segment, we were talking about the live auctions, and we were just getting into one of my favorite sayings, which is that technology should never replace the auctioneer. It should only complement the live auctioneer and what he's doing. What's your opinion on that, Kevin?
Well, obviously, for personal reasons, I don't want to become a dinosaur, right? I don't want to be extinct. So, number one is it's good for the profession. But no, I agree with you. Um, Live auctions are a long-standing tradition in this part of the country, especially in the Northern Plains, and it's part of our culture. It's part of folklore. It's been a part of our society for hundreds of years up in this part of the country, and people are merchandising, buying and selling land and equipment and trinkets and collectibles and everything else. And but more than anything, I think it's a way of life. It's embedded in our culture. People love the auctions. They love the live auctions. They love the camaraderie with their neighbors and their friends and meeting new people, interacting with the ringmen and their neighbors. And just being a part of the event is pretty exciting in itself. But the digital portion, the online portion, that brings a new element. It's convenient for people who can't make it on that particular day or whatever it might be. But in our company, we have always embraced having the live auction with the internet bidding, the online bidding, the digital platform, whatever you want to call it, simply because you really have the best of both worlds. You provide a service to people that aren't able to make it, or would rather just stay home, maybe in their office, or maybe the weather's inclement that day, they can't make it, or they might maybe watching a grandson play football or something, and so they got conflicts. But the live auction certainly is something that's fun. It seems like the more further west we travel, the larger our crowds online, or on live, I mean. So the people in central and western part of the Dakotas, they love the live auctions. Not that they don't here in the valley, but it seems like certain areas we are located, that the live auction is probably still as popular as it's ever been.
I think actually, as we've engaged with customers here, particularly in the Iowa, Minnesota, and eastern South Dakota areas, we have people on every auction that we have that come up and say, "Hey, thank you for doing live auctions. We love going to live auctions. We want to be at live auctions, and please keep doing live auctions," because they enjoy all of the things that you just talked about. But one thing that I think is really important, and I would like you guys' feedback is I know that when I went to auctioneer school at Western College of Auctioneering in Billings, Montana, clear back in the early 90s, that one of the things that they pounded on the pulpit about literally was, you don't want to give your buyers a reason not to bid. And we have so many people, and the USDA has told us that I think it's like only 82% of the farms in the United States have internet access or internet availability. That means that there's almost 20% of the agricultural farms that don't even have access. And the more important that is, to have live auctions and to give those folks that don't have the technology the opportunity to come and to bid and buy at the auctions. And that's that's dollars in our seller's pocket. And that's what we're working for, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's really important. I think, the nice thing about the live auction, everybody can come to the live auction, and maybe not everybody can participate online because they maybe are uncomfortable with the platform. They're uncomfortable with the digital process, whatever it might be, whether they're bidding on their phone, their iPhone, or their whatever phone they have, their smartphone, or bidding on their laptop computer. But yeah, the live auction certainly, I think at the end of the day, still carries every auction for the most part, I think. And then the other nice thing is, especially if it's equipment, you're there because you can walk around that combine, you can walk around that truck or that tractor, and you can inspect it. You can hop in the cab, and you can even turn it, start it up, and drive it if you want, whatever it might be. So again, there's a lot of those accommodations that come with the live auction that I think are really important, and I think they'll be here forever. It's just I think what's going to change is technology over time will just get better and better, but the live auction I think is here to stay forever.
I know that as I watch auctioneers and also being an auctioneer myself, that the technology has also made it very challenging for the live auctioneer, because it used to be the only thing that the auctioneer needed was a tape recorder and a microphone and a speaker. But now we've got mixer boards, and we've got the equipment facts platform. We've got our own bidding platform, and watching the bids come in on that, that's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot going on that the auctioneer has to watch for. And we're also dealing with a lot higher dollars. So Kevin, as an auctioneer, how do you manage that?
Well, it's interesting when you're sitting in the truck or when you're sitting behind the microphone at a live auction, you have these different online bidding platforms that you have to pay attention to. So hopefully you either are doing it yourself or you have staff there or your ringman. It's not just the auctioneer, it's a team effort. I always say that the auctioneer and his team with the ringmen and everybody else, they're worth another 10 or 15% on top of the gross sale price if they're doing their job. So again, and I think we prove that time and time again. But yeah, sometimes there's two screens in front of the auctioneer, depending on how many bidding platforms we have. It could be Equipment Facts or Nextlot or our own website or whatever. And we have to be paying attention to those because there are options for buyers to participate at whatever bidding platform they're most comfortable with. And there's some really very popular ones out there. But, I think the success of our company of Pifers has been that we provide multiple online bidding platforms, Equipment Facts and Nextlot, which basically gets us 99% of all farmers that have digital access. And then on top of that, you get the live bidding. So again, instead of just having one online bidding platform in the auction truck or behind the microphone, you're open to thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more potential bidders on the day of the auction.
Yep, that's exactly right. Folks, we're coming down to the end of our third segment of the Legacy of Agriculture. Shoot us an email and give us ideas at legacyofagriculture@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jasmine at Pifer's Auction, Realty, and Land Management. Pifer's offers multiple ways to bid and buy at our equipment and land auctions. You can bid online, in person, or place pre-bids before the sale even starts. By providing convenient bidding platforms, we make sure that you can buy the items or parcels you want the way you want to. Visit pifers.com to see a complete list of our auctions. When it comes to bidding, go with Pifers. Nobody does it better.
Good morning, everybody. This is Chris Bair, your host of the Legacy of Agriculture. Thank you for joining us. We want to give a huge shout out to two of our sponsors, Pifer Auction Realty and Land Management, and also Richard's Repair out of Larchwood, Iowa, has joined us as a sponsor of the Legacy of Agriculture. We appreciate the good guys out there. Kevin, it's been a delight, and it's been a surprise to have you join us in the third and fourth segment. This year is an important year for Pifers. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, this year we're going to be celebrating, or we are celebrating our 25th anniversary. We were founded in 2000. So again, it's really exciting that 2.5 decades later, here we are with a phenomenal team. I can remember 25 years ago, my older brother Pete and I started this company, and it was just him and I only for a few months. And then we'd hire one person, and then for 6 months, it'd be three of us, and so on and so forth. But, to see this all come together and where it is today, to provide land auction services and real estate brokerage equipment auctions and land management to our clientele in the greater 5-state area has been really an incredible opportunity for us to interact with a lot of people from a lot of different generations, particularly the baby boomer generation, to help them succeed in their succession planning or whatever it might be. But it's been a very, I should say, jam-packed 25 years, and I would say largely very successful. But I still think that our best years are ahead of us, and I know Jack can talk about that too. But as we look forward to the next 5 or 10 years, with the team that we have in place, Chris, with your leadership in South Dakota and the rest of our team members throughout the 5-state area, and we have a lot of really good things to look forward to.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Kevin, what has been over the 25-year period of being in the auction business? And congratulations on a quarter of a century. What has been some of your most favorite memories of the auction business and most memorable events?
Well, obviously, and I look back at it 25 years, a lot of the people that are in our company, we've become really good friends. I mean, we're a very close-knit group, as you well know. Some of them have become some of my best friends in the business, and I've appreciated that. Some of them I knew before, most of them I did not know before we started our company. So, that has enriched the journey immensely, and it has made it all that much more worthwhile. But I would look back at it. There are a number of events that have really, I think, shaped the culture of our company. Just one example is we helped a lady who was in her 80s one year. We took over the management of her farm, and she did not even have the financial wherewithal to live in an assisted or unassisted living center because she could not afford it. So her children had to take care of her. And when we took over the farm management for her, we were able to put her in a position where she could live the rest of her life in financial dignity. And when you have stories like that, they make it all the more worthwhile when you can help people like that. So it's not just working with the people that own large tracts of land or whatever. And this lady only owned like 400 acres of land, a relatively small farm in our part of the country. So when I look back, those are the kind of things that have made it all worthwhile. The hallmark of our company has always been to do all of the things right all of the time. And in that particular case, that's just kind of one of those shining examples.
That really is the truth, Kevin, is that's one of the richest blessings, and I'll definitely call it a blessing of being in the auction business is that you get to rub shoulders with so many good people. And it really is about helping other people, and it's not always about the commission. It's not always about this or that. Sometimes it's just about doing the right things and helping people in the right place at the right time. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just think it's so fulfilling, the services that we can provide. And, it is about, helping other people. Obviously, everybody wants to get paid for what they do, but, sometimes you just want to go the extra mile for those people who are, less fortunate or really need their help. We deal with a lot of people in our business who are 2 or 3 generations removed from the farm, and they really do need us and they trust us, and they place a lot of our trust in us to sell something that they and their families had worked for generations to build it up. And it's our obligation and our duty to do what we can for them, no matter how small or how big the sale is going to be.
I would agree with that. Jack, as we're into the last 3 or 4 minutes of the legacy of agriculture for this week, what do you see the future of Piper's being?
Yeah, I think we're gonna, keep trying to replicate what we've been doing. But at the same time, we need to follow the trends, obviously, like we talked about earlier with the online and going into the live sales. We want to keep doing as many live sales as we can. It's good to hear that a lot of your customers are grateful that we're still doing that. And then, we obviously want to keep expanding our territory a little bit. Like you mentioned earlier, we got Troy Dronsrud now on the Western Minnesota side. Really happy to have him on the team. And so, yeah, it's all about just having the right people in place. And I think we have that to keep expanding and to keep adding on to the great work that we've been doing the last 25 years.
Well, and one of the things that I really enjoy about Pifers is that Pifers believes in brick and mortar. Explain that. Why is Pifer so driven towards brick and mortar, Kevin?
Well, I think one of the things that you look at the industry, that the industry is trending towards mostly the digital platforms and pretty much all online bidding. We're a firm believer in, obviously, we've talked about this, the live and the digital, the online auctions, but it also gives us an opportunity when we have facilities to become a part of the community. And it might not just be the city of Steele or the city of Worthing, but it's the county or the multi counties or whatever, or central North Dakota or northwestern South Dakota or whatever it might be. So we want to be part of that culture and we want our people to live in those communities. So for us to invest in these communities, I think it demonstrates to everybody, not just our clients and our customers who are the buyers, but to everybody in our company, that we're investing in people and in these communities. We want to be a part of that culture and we want to support them as much as we possibly can. And we have proven that these facilities, if you have the right people in place, complement that with really good facilities, and then provide it with these digital online platforms, that you're going to have a success story. Yeah, you might have some hiccups here or there, but I think it's critically important that auction companies like ours and land management companies, that we embrace these communities and we become a very involved and active part of every part of that community.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Kevin, I'll tell you what, Jack, we're coming down to the end of our fourth and final segment of the legacy of agriculture this week. And we started a program here about 3 months ago. There's always so much more to talk about that we actually have a bonus segment. So those of you that are joining us and have been listening to us on WNX Radio, we're going to go into a bonus segment that you can pick up on Apple and Spotify on our podcasts, and also will be on YouTube. And I want to continue this conversation just a little bit. Huge shout out to our sponsors, Pifer Auction Realty and Land Management, as well as Richards Repair. We appreciate them for being a generous sponsor of the Legacy of Agriculture. Leave us an email at legacyofagriculture@gmail.com, and we're going into our bonus segment.
Hi, this is Jasmine at Pifer's Auction Realty and Land Management. Pifer's offers multiple ways to bid and buy at our equipment and land auctions. You can bid online, in person, or place pre-bids before the sale even starts. By providing convenient bidding platforms, we make sure that you can buy the items or parcels you want the way you want to. Visit pifers.com to see a complete list of our auctions. When it comes to bidding, go with Pifers. Nobody does it better.
So, Kevin, as we go into this bonus segment, a lot of times it's just 5 minutes, and sometimes it's a little bit longer. But we're excited to be a part of the brick and mortar, particularly down here in the Sioux Falls region. We call it the Southern Dakota region, and we are so blessed down here to be able to have one of the most beautiful state-of-the-art facilities that there is in the upper Midwest, and nestled right along I-29, right off exit 64. I can't tell you the telephone calls that I get at 10 o'clock at night, somebody driving by that calls my telephone number because they're driving down the freeway and says, "Hey, how many sets of pallet forks are you selling next week?" And I wake up and I go, "Why are you calling me at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night wanting to know how many pallet forks we're selling?" That's your fault, right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
But I remember almost 5 years ago when I was visiting with you and Steve Link, and you were adamant that in starting a Sioux Falls region that we do it on the backs of brick and mortar and a nice facility, and we were blessed enough to be able to find one almost right away. I know we were prepared financially to build, and at the last minute, this facility came for sale, and we jumped on it. I'd like to have both both Kevin and Jack talk about the future of Pifers and these facilities and how important it is to our growth.
Yeah, well, I think you need to obviously strategically place your facilities, and then you need to equip them with really good people. I mean, you have to. It doesn't work. I mean, if we didn't have Chris Bair and Kyle and Jazz and Lucas, if we didn't have Josh and our whole team in South Dakota, this doesn't work. But I think you need to have the combination. And then, as a company, you need to set everybody up to succeed. You don't want to set them up to fail. And for us, our whole model is we build on interstate. We're not going to be off on some back road. We want high visibility because we got one shot in that community and in that part of a region or whatever it might be. So, again, there's always a temptation. Oh, here's a really good site. It's affordable. But, if you're 3 blocks off interstate, nobody sees you. You're not getting those calls, Chris, on those pallet forks, right? So, we want to be in an area or on a road or a major highway, preferably an interstate or a U.S. highway like in Bowman 85. We want 28,000 vehicles a day going by our facilities. That's what we want. And as we look forward, we have acquired land in North Dakota on both I-94 and 29. We're going to potentially be building on one or both of those sites in the next 2 or 3 years. So that'll further complement our I-29 location at Worthing, our I-94 location at Bismarck by Steele, our Highway 85, US Highway 85 location in Bowman, south of Dickinson. So as we look forward to, Jack, great opportunities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yep. And I'm really excited about the potential with some of those sites. And like you said, it's all about finding the right people. And I'm, excited about, potentially officing out of one of those in the future and, assembling a good team like you have down there in Sioux Falls to keep replicating what we have at our existing sites.
One of the things that I really like about the growth pattern at Pifers is that you seem to be following an I-29, I-90 trend, which is, to me, first of all and foremost, and probably most important, is that it's uh, contiguous. It makes complete sense to have a facility on I-29 down here in Sioux Falls, and then have another one north of Fargo on I-29, and then you've got the steel on I-90, and then your Castleton facility that will happen in the near future here on I-90 as well, and then Bowman's clear over serving the good people in eastern Montana and western North Dakota and northwestern South Dakota for that point. Very strategically placed, very methodical, a very good way to do business. Nothing seems to be helter skelter, and I think that's important to both our clients and customers, right?
Yeah, I think it flows really good. I agree. I mean, when you look at the demographics of agriculture in our region, obviously, there are certain pockets that have been more successful than others, but simply because they might have better land or whatever it might be. But, in our region, if you follow I-29 all the way from Winnipeg all the way down into through South Dakota, you're in the heart and soul of the Red River Valley for most of that drive. And then I-94 crisscrossing all the way from basically the Wisconsin-Minnesota border all the way through Minnesota into through North Dakota and into Montana. Incredible opportunities in American agriculture. So again, it's the footprint. It seems to fit the flow of it. Yes, I think it works. At some point, obviously, we're going to have to start going a little bit further east because we're going to saturate North Dakota to the point where we're probably going to have to start looking east instead of looking west when we get up in the morning.
Yeah. Well, and the guys out in Wisconsin, I know that we've had a handful of sales out in Wisconsin, both equipment and land sales, and Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota is also very important to the Pifer's growth and to our growth as a company. Um, what do you see, Jack? And we'll start to wind the show down now. What do you see in your professional career at Pifer's? What do you see us as we move forward?
Yeah,
What's your
it's
vision?
right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of a tough one. It's kind of tough to think big picture just a couple months into the co-CEO role, but I don't know. Like we have in Steel and Bowman and all the other sites we mentioned, we've just got the right people in place. And so, in order to expand, it's really hard to do that without finding the right people. And so, as we continue working and kind of traveling throughout the Midwest, I'm just excited to get to know more people and and grow some relationships kind of across the region. And kind of we'll kind of have to see what makes sense as we move forward here. But yeah, like you said, expanding east. I think the northwestern part of our state here in North Dakota is another place where we could really make a bigger impact up in there. And so there's a lot of really great communities and markets that we could tap into as a company, but um, gotta do it at the right pace.
One of the things that I'm going to go just a little bit off into the ditch that I think is really fun, and one thing that really impressed me about Pifers when I first came to work here, and Abby does a great job with this at our steel location, is it's fairly common to have a movie night or a dance or a reception. Has there been a wedding at the facility in
Oh yeah,
Steel?
yep,
There's
they've
been a
had
wedding
weddings.
and everything, huh?
Yep, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's a good thing you bring up. A lot of our facilities have become quasi event centers. I know in Steel, our facility by Bismarck, we had almost 40 events there last year outside of our auction. So we had election day was there. The Democrats had a meeting there. The Republicans had a meeting there. The Kiwanis Club, the Pioneer Seed Dealer. There's been wedding dances. There's been livestock auctions, and in fact, when we build on I-29 north of here, between here and Grand Forks in Hillsboro, our goal is to make that an auction hall and an event center. I mean, we truly want it to be, because there's a lacking of those facilities in some of these communities. So, yeah, you brought up movie night. So Abby, who runs our Steel office, and during the winter they have movie night for the kids in Steel, so they can all come and watch it on our big screen and have popcorn and soda and whatever else they want to have. So it has become kind of a community event center for sure in that location.
Yeah, it seems like pretty much every time I'm there, we'll try to store a nice piece of equipment inside or something, and Abby will say, "Nope, can't do that. There's a retirement party tonight, or there's a birthday party tomorrow morning, or something." So yeah, they are a huge part of that community over there. It's a pretty cool thing.
well, that actually brings me kind of full circle with what we talked about in the first segment of the legacy of agriculture. Is I've had the opportunity to work on some pretty impressive teams in my career, but working for Pifers, and Kevin, you weren't on the first two segments of the legacy of agriculture, but to me, Pifers isn't. It's really not like working on a team. It's almost like working with family, and I know that as I was sitting in the back of the room during our corporate meetings earlier this week, that there isn't one person that I wouldn't welcome into my home if somebody needed a place to stay. And I've never really been able to say that anywhere else, but we're it's almost like working for family in a good way.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people in our company. There's 50 plus of us that, almost everybody didn't know each other before we started our company. And now a lot of them have become best friends. They go on vacations together. They go to each other's kids' graduations. They love spending time together. They might go on fishing trips together. So to see those relationships develop at all these different levels, some more so than others, has really been, for me, has probably been the most enriching part of this journey, is to see all those relationships. I mean, not only the relationship I get to have with them, but to see everybody else, instead of shaking hands or hugging each other. They hadn't seen each other for 3 or 4 months. They love supporting each other. They're there for each other. They'll drop what they're doing to help them with their sale or whatever it might be. So it is really good to see that. And it just really, just kind of warms my heart. I'll put it that way when I
Yeah.
when I hear stories about what you just had to say.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know how many times, it's been quite a few times that I've been going through Bowman, and I think if I didn't stay with Andy and his wife, I probably would have been in a lot of trouble if I'd gotten a hotel room rather than staying
I'm
with them.
sure.
So it's it's a lot of fun, but Well, we've got to get back to work here down in Sioux Falls, and we thank you, Kevin, for joining us, and thank you, Jack, for joining me. It's been great here on the Legacy of Agriculture to have both of you on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you listening to Chris's show. And Chris, you guys do a great job in Worthing. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day.
In it here now, I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna been on here now. Who bid $500,000 bid?
We hope you've enjoyed today's edition of The Legacy of Agriculture with Chris Bair, sponsored by Pifer's Auction, Realty, and Land Management. Call Pifer's at 605-836-2277.